welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Robert Herbst, founder, executive coach, and author. He empowers listeners to future proof their careers, master ethical selling, and thrive in an ever changing sales world. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Thanks for having me, AJ.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Robert. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We will understand and learn from you about relationship first approach to sales and how it can benefit. But before that, let's learn a bit more about you, your background, your journey, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Great. Thanks, AJ. So my background for the last 40 years has been in sales, originally in engineering, and then I switched into sales at Xerox 40 years ago. And 34 years ago, I started my own company, developing sales forces, helping companies to improve their sales culture, and training sales managers and sales people. And we operate out of Canada and the United States.
Absolutely. And so I want to understand first itself, what is this relationship first sales in today's time? Means everyone, the target are about sales. Everything else is about sales. Relationships take time. And a
They do.
salesperson will lose his job if he builds relationship in that aspect. So help us understand these relationship sort of sales, how does one understand this? How should one understand this today?
Yes, and you're absolutely right, AJ. It's not a fast process. We don't look at time and how much time it takes. It's really based on trust. So we often get asked over thousands of salespeople that we've trained. They all ask, well, how do I build trust quickly? We say, well, instead of focusing on 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 trust, ask yourself where it comes from, because we want relationships with people that we trust. That's why customers need a salesperson, is because they need somebody to trust with something they can't understand themselves or need help understanding, product or service. So our approach, AJ, is we develop what we call sales practitioners. And by a practitioner, what comes to mind is someone who knows what their role is. And they tell the customer that their role is to find and fix a problem. If you are preoccupied with finding and fixing a problem for a customer, uh, the trust will come, but your preoccupation should be to find and fix a problem. And to do that, you use a process. And that process is uh, to base all your research on the customer on evidence. So it's your job as a salesperson to investigate and diagnose for a customer. We learned this many years ago in the 1980s and 90s, and we actually learned it from the Japanese management techniques, that you focus 85% of your time on finding and establishing and defining a problem. For a salesperson, define that problem for a customer and prove that there is a problem and establish the cost of that problem. And then it's actually a natural thing to develop a custom solution for that customer, obviously in your product or service area. But find out if the customer has a problem first, and prove it to yourself that you have found something that you can fix for them, an opportunity. And then your solution will match quite nicely. And if you're doing that, then you're earning trust with a customer, because you're showing them what you're doing very openly. You're showing evidence, you're showing your methodology, you're showing your process, and everything is very open. So that's
Right,
our
right,
approach.
right,
Yeah.
Robert. So sales, as you know, what sort of a reputation it has got. People avoid, forget about, meeting salespeople. Now they avoid sales calls also,
Right.
because they know that it will not be about sales, it will be about pestering, it will be almost like forcing, without actually, even if you are not interested. Sleazy tactics, as many call it. So, in this backdrop, whose job is it to talk about ethical sales, talk about, relationship building? A salesperson on the ground who has just joined, he is not in a position, he or she is not in a position to decide about these things. So help us understand how what does a, who gets started, who has to get started to get these things started at all in any company, big company, small company, or even anywhere it is.
Yeah. Ah, boy, that's a big question, AJ. It's very much a cultural issue. The whole company has to operate and function within ethical boundaries, and it starts from the very top. So, to answer your question, who has to start this? This has to come right from inside the company, and the leadership and the sales managers who model that behavior. It's interesting, AJ, when we go into a company and we do an assessment of their sales culture in order to develop the gaps that are missing. You look at a few things. You look, one, how does a company treat its people, its salespeople, its internal people? Uh, how does it treat its customers, of course? But there's an interesting part of this as well. How do they treat their suppliers? How they treat their suppliers uh, tells you how they treat their own people, and then that will tell you how they're going to treat their customers. You can't treat your people poorly and your suppliers poorly and then go out and put on a fake face to a customer and pretend that you're going to be ethical. The whole company has to be ethical. So, how do we define ethical? Um, we look at a culture and we say a sales culture has to have three things. They have to have personal development of their people as one of the core elements. Personal development. The second thing is clear expectations. Clear expectations of outputs, clear expectations of behavior, clear expectations of uh, of work parameters and results, and then uh, the third thing is achievement. You're working for a company because you want to achieve something. You're working for a customer because the customer wants to achieve something. Um, the suppliers that you work with are trying to achieve something. So we found that to be very interesting over 30 years. That holds up to tell you what a culture is like. Is there personal development? Is the company interested in the personal development of their people? Because that's what people want when they work somewhere. They want to develop themselves personally. Is there clear expectations? If there is, that will spill over into a conversation with a customer. Mr. Customer, what are your expectations of me? What are our expectations of each other? So that we're clear and open with each other. And then finally, what do we have to achieve? So I hope I'm answering your question, AJ. It's the whole culture that will hold up the behaviors inside the organization, and the salesperson, if they're comfortable inside that, they will behave that way. If they're not comfortable with that, they will leave. So
Right.
you're absolutely right. The sleaziness of sales, I think we kind of hit a magic spot through COVID where the only salespeople that survived were the ones who wanted to be with customers, that wanted to have a conversation with customers, because we were so starving for conversation through COVID. And now the residual effect is that the only people we want to talk to is those people that genuinely want to have a conversation with us and be with us.
Absolutely. That's a very nice point, strong point you have mentioned. I can now relate to that. Even those people who stand with you in your difficult moments, obviously you will not forget them. But in terms of salespeople, how
Mhm.
many options do they have in today's time when you actually talk about, uh, looking at the right companies, right culture. A lot of companies may be good, but the pressure on salespeople is equally, not so good. And
Right.
and and then again there is a dilemma because
Mhm.
you need the paycheck. So how do you either you work or you don't work? How should a salesperson define themselves for themselves? Because should they look at themselves as honest people? Should they look at, is it that okay, I have to
Oh,
wear a
absolutely.
mask for several hours and then I will be back to myself? How do they look at, because it's not an easy job to be in a salesperson with so many competition. People are not looking at you that positively. They are looking at you not as solving problems but looking at their wallets, and at the same time AI is looking at your job.
Right.
How does the salesperson then define or redefine himself or herself in these times?
Yeah, again, a very good question. I mean, the obvious answer is we like to say that sales is the most honest place you'll ever be. You know, everyone can have great relationships until somebody asks you for your money. Then things change. It doesn't matter if it's customers, friends, relatives. Doesn't matter. Everything changes when you ask somebody for money. So we encourage salespeople, in order to be honest, you start with that introduction of your role and how you intend to engage with the person. So, for example, a salesperson, we believe, needs to start with the conversation with a customer to say, the reason I'd like to talk with you is because I'd like to do business with you, but we're not there yet. In order to do so, I have to meet with you and find out if we have a potential fit. The only way I know to do that is to ask you a lot of questions about your circumstance, your situation. We would take it on ourselves to try to help find if there's a gap, a problem to be solved, and then see if we could fix that. For us to do an assessment and analysis usually doesn't cost the customer anything. But that's an invitation of the salesperson to be very honest and say, this is why I'm here. State why you're there. State what you intend to do, and then state how you intend to do that, and do that face to face. Uh, it's interesting statistically now, AJ. We're finding that very large organizations have had they've done customer profiling exercises, and up to 42% on average of salespeople have gone away because customers are approaching 50% of their purchasing behavior is done online through automated purchasing, Amazon, etc. So customers are conditioned to buy online. It's actually a pleasure now. It's a relief to have someone actually phone you and talk to you, because we now know, you and I get emails every day. Everybody gets emails every day, and we can tell now that it's a chat bot, it's an AI, it's a hired person that's pretending to be you know, a prospector or something like that, a salesperson. Uh, as a salesperson, pick up the phone, phone someone. I'm amazed how few phone calls I get. You know, as a business owner, I'm absolutely shocked. When a salesperson actually calls me and leaves a message and says, "This is who I am, and this is what I'm trying to sell. I think we might have a potential fit. I've researched your company a bit. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Here's my number." I would love a salesperson to do that. It's amazing how many don't do that. They send blanket emails or worse, text, and it's just annoying. So it's not
Absolutely.
this is not easy. It's still, you still have to make a lot of phone calls. You have to set an appointment. Phone a customer, be honest, tell them why you're calling, what you intend to do, how you intend to approach it, what are your steps, what are you asking for? Just be honest. This is not hard.
Absolutely. That's a very good point you made. Means if a salesperson directly from a company calls or leaves a message, tells who he or she is, it would create that trust. But nowadays, companies have outsourced everything. Their sales process is also outsourced to outsiders and third parties, as they call it.
Hmm.
They don't, you don't know who they are. You don't
Yep.
know anything about them. They never leave a message. Bots call on their behalf, and they seem to be, to be there almost to torment you.
Yeah.
And it is spoiling the company's names. And I don't know, either they are so, thick skinned, they don't bother, or who, whatever they want to be, they are losing customers this way.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Those companies that won't do this, and it won't work. It will not work. Now, products that we can buy intuitively, products that we can buy online, commodities, we will do so. But the products and services that have heavy technology in them and are complicated, complex, and require someone to help you make a decision, we call that level one value. You're helping a customer to think, and helping a customer make a decision is still the very biggest value you can provide, instead of just being a features dumper. If you're just providing information transfer, AI will do that. But AI will never do what a salesperson does in finding and fixing a problem, diagnosing and fixing a problem, because every customer's situation and circumstance is different. So yes, the strongest salespeople will still be the ones uh, who can work through the complexity of how a customer experiences the product and experiences their own problems, and that takes work. That takes a trained salesperson. Companies that realize that will be very successful, and the companies that won't. I agree with you, AJ. AJ, this will not work. This chatbot, it is so irritating. The hundreds of emails that we get in a day, we can tell instantly. If somebody wants to sell me something, they can phone me and talk to me. I would appreciate that. Stop sending me all this garbage that goes into my junk mail.
Absolutely. And someday, there might be a class action suit or some law which will say all these people who are writing to you or sending these emails, their senior officers will also have to share their email ID or their phone numbers. And
Yes.
if it comes, then the customers will also have to reply or write to them straightforward. Their own phones and email boxes will get jammed because they are tormenting their potential, so-called potential
Yep.
customers. There cannot be inequality here.
Right.
One day, one code, one system will certainly get, one country will start, and this will be the end of it all. Already people are blocking sleazy sales tactics. Whichever it is, let that be the way. If you want to add something to this, and then I will come to the next question.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So regulation will be a big part of this. I agree. Um, it will because it's accelerating so quickly. I think the backlash and the lack of sales from those efforts will force companies to go back into a people business, a people relationship business. Again, for those products where complexity is and the conversation around complexity and product fit is necessary with a salesperson, that will that I mean, it's already there. Sales companies that have strong sales forces and they have really powerful salespeople. I would say 50% of salespeople out there are very good. The bottom half is dropping off like crazy, though. It's gone from direct frontline salespeople to inside salespeople, and then even backwards further into all the things that you have just described, AJ. Yeah, chatbots and emails and outreach programs that are automated and everything. Customers can see right through that. We're not stupid. Customers aren't stupid.
Nobody is stupid. Customers who
No.
earn money, hard work, and they earn their money, how can they be stupid? The people
Yeah.
who consider them stupid could be stupid then. Perhaps they are only looking
Yeah.
at short-term things, but then that is their problem. I want to understand from you, Robert, is
Hmm.
situation different in, say, B2B segment, or is it as bad as B2C? Because there they are dealing much more with company to company.
Yeah, B2B is different. You know what we find very interesting, AJ. I don't know if you've found this as well, but if you are a decision maker, a key decision maker, you could be very high in the organization, making big multi-million-dollar decisions. You could be the manager of a certain department where you need products. Every department or company leader is looking for ideas, right? If you've been running a company for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, every year you're trying to come up with ideas, kind of trying to come up with ideas. Salespeople are the best source. They're the easiest source of ideas. It doesn't cost you anything to invite salespeople in as a decision maker just to get ideas. And it's good for the salesperson. It's good for the company. Ideas come from the outside. So decision makers, B2B companies who have decision makers, which they do throughout the organization, it's a very valuable strategy, if you will, to invite salespeople in to get ideas and fresh perspectives on your business. And they would love to pay for solutions. Any company it's not a problem to pay very well for a very strong solution that fixes a problem you can't fix on your own. Geez, every company needs all the help they can get. All the decision makers need all the help they can get. So B2B is different in that way. B2C, that's susceptible and vulnerable to mass marketing with this new AI approach and automated purchasing and the whole Amazon model. Fortunately or unfortunately, it works. I buy stuff on Amazon, but then I don't have a relationship with them either.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. So there's much to learn from you, Robert, about all these things. And I'm, one of books is coming up, Cheating Death. Tell us a bit about this book. What can the audience learn from your book?
Yeah, so cheating death again. I'm bothered by sales. I love the profession. I love salespeople. I've worked with them for decades, and they have a hard job. And I feel for them. They're out there as warriors in the trenches, trying to connect and getting a lot of rejection, and doing very hard work to find and fix problems. So what I found is that the companies that enable and allow salespeople to do an average job, and because there's more remote work and remote sales opportunity now, it's available and possible for a salesperson to become very complacent, and we call that a slow death. That's why the book is all about how to cheat that slow death. You have to cheat death. You have to want to thrive. You have to want to find and fix problems for customers very aggressively. That's a wonderful profession. You will always be needed. You can be very proud of what you do, but you have to do it properly. You have to have the mind of what we call a sales practitioner, much like a doctor. A doctor is not preoccupied with trying to sell you a kidney operation. They're interested in diagnosing your symptoms and finding your problem. The solution will come. But the professional salespeople that are out there, and there are many of them, they have a preoccupation with helping customers. That's a noble profession. It's a wonderful profession. It's been around forever. Unfortunately, today, uh, if you're not careful as one of these salespeople that we say are coasting and just doing minimal work and just taking easy deals and taking phone in orders, we don't need you. That's a slow death. So this whole book is about cheating death. It's about cheating that death, that complacency. Complacency is terrible. You want to
Absolutely,
grow as a person and become better and better and help more and more people. That's a wonderful profession.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. So a lot of people who would want to learn from you, learn more about you, about your book. What's the best way for them to connect with you, Robert?
If they want to go to spireselling.com, they'll find everything we need. We have books and courses that we provide in consulting services. So yeah, spireselling.com would give anyone the information they need. And yeah, we are developing more and more. So we're looking forward to
Absolutely.
reaching people through, what we do.
Absolutely. With
Mhm.
this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, AJ.